All right, so today we're looking at the last kind of loop in Liberty. It's another kind of indefinite loop. Scratch does not have this. It does not exist in Scratch, okay, which is why I have the big line through the Scratch guy kind of, right? But it is still an indefinite loop, and you'll remember that indefinite simply means we don't know how many times it's going to repeat. We've seen the repeat until. That obviously loops until something happens. This is the exact opposite. We're going to loop while something is true. So instead of looping until something is true, you loop as long as something is true. You see the difference? Okay, so while when is used when you do not want a loop to perform at least one. Until always loops once. There are certain situations where you don't want it to perform the loop once. You want it to check before it even begins looping. Okay? Most of the time you can do whatever you're trying to do. You can use either until or while. You have to sort of manipulate it a little bit to make it work that way. There are certain situations that work much nicer with until. There are certain situations that work much nicer with while. And it's really just experience as to what will work better. Okay? So a while loop may not execute at all. What a wonderful true and false question that might be, Dakota, on a test. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The loops while a condition is true. Use for next when you know how long to loop for. Use while when it is unknown or it changes each time the program is run. Okay, so suppose someone wants to run a budget program. They are allowed to keep entering values to subtract from the budget amount while the budget amount is greater than 0. You could also use until. You could repeat until the budget amount is 0, or you could repeat while the budget amount is greater than 0. Either would be fine, right? So it's just an example of one that would work both ways. So here's what it might look like. Enter the budget amount, $100. You got $100 to spend. It's really just a subtraction problem. Really, it's not that thing too fancy. Nobody would ever actually do this. Enter the amount 1, $20. Enter amount 2, $40, 3, $50. Sorry, you do not. Sorry, too much. You've overspent your budget because 20 and 40 is 60. And then once you try to spend 50, you're over budget, right? So it didn't allow you to spend the $50. You continue to enter items while the budget amount is greater than 100. Okay, so here's the pseudocode. Here's the plan for it. We would get the budget amount. I would set my item number equal to 1, and I would set up a loop, and I would go while budget amount is greater than 0. Then I would do what? Get the next item value, decrease the budget amount by the item value, and then I would end my loop. Now this is kind of weird. The while loop ends with the made-up word when. It comes from combining while with end to get when. Okay? So a do loop looks like this. It goes do, and then at the bottom, loop until. And a while loop looks like this. It says while, and then at the bottom is when. Some languages use the word do in the while. They go do while, and then when at the bottom. Okay, so it all depends on the grammar, the syntax of the language. I believe Liberty does it this way, while and when. And then display the over budget statement. Okay, so do you need an if down here? Do you need an if the budget amount is greater than 0? No, you don't, because the only way to get out of this loop is when the budget amount is greater than 0. Lance, when does this loop end? Yeah, exactly. When the budget amount when the budget amount goes below 0, then the loop stops because we continue to loop while the budget amount is greater than 0. That's correct. Okay, so here's the code. I'm going to let you type it in now. Input, what is your budget amount? Budget that's at the end of this line. Item equals 1 while budget amount is greater than 0. Notice the indentation again. Okay, so go ahead and type that in. I'll give you a few minutes, and then I'll rejoin you. All right, let's have a look at this here. So I input, what is your budget amount? Let's just run the debugger on it. What's going on over there with that beeping? Let's run the budget amount. Run the debugger on this here. So input, what is your budget amount? That's the first thing it asks for. I type in my $100 or whatever. Next thing it does is it sets the item number equal to 1, and it checks while the budget amount is greater than 0. So if the budget amount is greater than 0, then what does it do? Lance, what does it do if the budget amount is greater than 0? It goes into the loop, exactly. It goes into the loop, and it prints enter item number. And you'll notice that this, some of you have been trying to do this. I've noticed it out there. It's in the honors program. If you want to have an input with a number that goes up, you have to do it like this. And Josh, you need to take that earbud out so I can make sure that you're listening. You need to print like this, print enter item value, and then you do the input after. If you want it all on the same line, you put a semicolon there, and it will work. Okay, so I print enter item number. It's going to say item number 1. Then it's going to input it. Let's just go through this here. Right? So it does it like that. See how it puts the input on the next line? Travis, if I wanted that question mark to be on the same page, same line right here, then I would have to put a semicolon here. Okay? And then what does it do? I type in my number, $30 or what have you. And then it bumps up my item value. So now I'm at item number 2. And when? When means do what? It's the end of the while loop, but what it really means is go back to the top and see if that is still true. Lance, when means go back to the top and see if that value, or that expression, is still true. So it's going to jump back up there. See how it jumped back up there? And is the budget amount greater than 0? It is. It's 70. So what does it do? It goes back into the loop. And it waits for the next one. And if I type too much, if I put like 90 in there, what's it going to do? Okay? It subtracts it. My budget amount is now minus 20. My item number goes up. My when, I go back to the top. Actually, it goes back to the top. It checks it, and it's false. And so, Lance, what does it do when it's false? It goes past the when, and it goes down to here, exactly. Okay, so that's how the while loop works. Could you have done this with an until? Absolutely. You would have had do loop until budget amount is less than 0, equal or less than 0. Okay? All right. This is important. You need to listen. I will use this terminology over and over and over and over again. Christian, you need to stop typing and you need to listen. I need to see everyone's eyes up here. That's how important this is. This is called priming the loop. Any Power Mech students in here? No? Anybody know what it means to prime a pump? What does that mean? Okay. Well, wasn't you that said that? Sorry. What does it mean to prime a pump? Or if you're cutting the grass and you got to prime the motor, what does that mean? You got a lawnmower that you have to prime? No? Yeah? What does it mean, Cubs? Yeah, it puts gas into the engine, exactly. On my lawnmower, there's a little rubber ball of primer, and you push it about 5 or 6 times, and all that does is it squirts gas into the engine so that when you start it, there's gas in the engine already. Because you can't start it with no gas in there. Same thing with priming a pump. You put water in the pump so that it has something to start with. Priming the loop means giving it something to check to begin with, because you're going to check at the top. This is crucial. Because a while loop checks its condition at the top, the variable that it is checking, spelling mistake, must have a value before the while. This is known as priming the loop. Anybody's alarm bells ringing? Oh, he might ask that on a test. Because if they aren't, they should be. I will ask you, what does it mean to prime a while loop? What does it mean, Alex? To prime a while loop? You don't know. I'll say it again. What does it mean to prime a loop? It means to make sure that the variable it is checking must have a value before the while. The variable that you're checking must have something to check. It has to equal something. This is called priming the loop. So for example, input, what is your budget amount? budget amount. Item equals 1. While budget amount is greater than 0. This statement right here is the loop primer. Why is this the loop primer? It asks for the budget amount, which is then checked at the top of the loop. If I didn't have this, what would budget amount equal? Christian with a K, what would budget amount equal if I didn't have this? What would it be? It would be 0. And what would it do to the loop? It would stop. It wouldn't even go into there. It would just jump right past this. Okay, it would jump right past it. Okay? The priming of the loop also has to, it's not priming, but the loop has to be adjusted as well. There's 2 parts to while loop. You need this at the start. You need budget amount equals budget amount minus item value. You must change the while loop variable somewhere in the loop, because if you don't change it, what will happen? It will go on forever. And what happens, Connor, when loops go on forever? You have to log off. How many people are going to do this at least once in here? Every hand should go up. Exactly. You're all going to make this mistake. You must prime the loop before, and you must change the value that you're checking every time inside the loop. Are you getting messages from the Secret Service there, Elias? Is that why you're checking your earbud? Is the president landing? I see. Okay? It says right here, then inside the loop, the variables must be changed somehow. It could be a new assignment statement or even another input, but you must change the budget amount inside the loop. So 2 parts to the while loop that are absolutely 100% crucial that you know. Can't stress that enough, Lance. You must prime the loop. Why am I repeating myself over and over again? Because there's some people that didn't listen the first 4 times. You must prime the loop, which means to set that variable before the while, and then you must adjust it somewhere inside the loop. And I've highlighted them in red there. That's how important it is. Okay, here's your practice assignment. I would like you to change your guess higher-low number game, which came from lesson 7. It had a do until. You would say do until guess equals number. I want you to change it so that it uses a while. I'll give you a hint. Okay? You're going to say something like, we had do until, do loop. I always get this backwards here. Do loop until guess equals number. That's how you did it in the until. Nolan, this is how you're going to do it with the while. You're going to say while, and then at the bottom you're going to say when. What goes here? What goes behind the while? While guess is equal to number?
Yeah.
We're going to keep asking for guesses while the guess equals the number? Or do you really mean not equal to number? That's what you mean. While the guess is not equal to the number, then you get a new guess. Now, you might wonder, how do I make not equal sign on the computer? This is the way you do it, Lance. Not equals. You go less than and greater than. That symbol in computer language means not equal. You need to know that. That means not equal. Christian, how do I make not equal on a computer? What is it? It's a less than, greater than, right? Why did I ask you? Because you weren't paying attention. You were talking to Josh. And that's how important it is. Okay, you may also need an and or. And or can be used with if, while, or until. And some of you have seen this and used it already, right? We've done it in Scratch. It's just, it means exactly what it means. It means and or. And will execute if both x is equal to 5 and y equals 10. Both must be true for and to work. If you use or, one or the other or both will be true. and it will work. So it means the same thing that it means in English, and or. Okay. So go ahead. Here's practice assignment number 1. Change your high-low game to use a while when. I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then I'm going to show you how it looks. All right. So here's the code. It was do the random number, pick a number between 1 and 100, guess count equals 0, do input what is your guess count equals guess count plus 1, loop until guess equals number. How do I change this to a do while? Or a while, sorry. So I'm going to change this to while. I'm going to move the condition, the guess equals number thing, I'm going to move it to the top. We've already agreed that we're going to do less than, greater than, like so. And I'm going to put my when down here. Okay, I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to let you look at it. Mitchell says it's not going to work. Why is it not going to work, Mitchell?
Because if it doesn't do what the while stuff, it's going to go say yes. Then.
Let's run it and see. I think he's right. He thinks that it's not even going to do this, right? What is your guess? 4. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Something's not right. Will I be able to get out of here? Yes, I will. Should I do this? While we're testing it, should I do this? What's this going to do while I'm testing it? What's the value of doing this while testing? Josh, what do you think? What's the value of print the number there while we're testing? Alex, watch up here. So I can guess it and see what it's exactly. I know the random number is 22. So if I say 21, it asks me again. If I say 22, it works. It works. Now, you might remember me saying over and over and over again about priming the loop. Have I properly primed this loop, Lance? I technically have. I haven't done a real good job of it, but technically I have. Because what does priming the loop mean? It means I need to make sure that my variables have values. Does number have a value before the loop? Yes, it's right there. Does guess have a value to start with? Well, technically it does. It's 0. Is this a good idea to do it this way? No, this is a bad idea. You're just counting on the computer automatically setting it to 0. What if the random number was actually picked to be 0? Okay? So technically you should have this input here must happen before the while loop. This primes the loop. You must have it before. Now is my program going to work? Lance, what do you think? I've primed the loop. What's the second thing you must do with while loops? Jacob, do you remember? There was 2 things. There was priming the loop, which is before, and what's the thing you have to do inside the loop? You have to change something. What do you have to change? The variable that you are checking. You must change the variable that you are checking. What are we checking? We're checking guess a number. Do I change the number inside the loop? No, it's just one number that's picked at the start. So what do I have to check inside the loop, or change inside the loop? I must change, what is it, Lance? I must change the guess. How do I change the guess? I need another guess inside the loop. Now, does it matter whether I do it before the guess count equals guess count plus 1 or after? Sometimes it will matter. Traditionally, the last thing you do in a while loop is change the value that you are checking. I'll say it one more time for those of you that are not listening. Traditionally, the last thing you do in a while loop is change the variable that you are checking. So in other words, because I'm checking guess, the last thing I should do in the while loop is change the guess. I'm doing that with an input. Let's see if this works now. There's my number, it's 56. Let's guess 50. Wrong. 56. Why does it say one guess? This is another common mistake with while loops, and this is one reason why students tend to avoid them. They are a little tricky. You're close, Lance. Yeah, there is guess count equals guess count plus 1, but this one, it goes with this one. This one increases it. When I say, what is your guess, what should I have right at the start? You're real close there, Lance. I should have guess count equals 1. Because you've already made a guess outside the loop, right? You have to start the guesses at 1. You can't start the guesses at 0. Now it should work. Okay? So Josh, while loops can be very tricky. Again, students tend to avoid them. I'm going to force you to do that on this hand-in assignment. You do need to be familiar with them. They do have some use at some point in time. Okay, so here's hand-in number 8. The last one. This is a hand-in assignment. I've given you the sheet with the rubric, which tells you exactly what you get marks for. Why am I speaking like this? Emphasis. So you realize that this is a hand-in assignment, and that is the rubric, that is what you're supposed to do. So, what do we do? Write a program that allows the user to input a 3-digit number as a code or password to open a door. So like a combination kind of thing. A password. We're just using a number. We will expand on that idea in the future. Use while when to allow the user to guess up to 5 times, Lance. After that, it locks out the user. You will need an AND, Christian with a K. You will need to use an AND. You're not allowed to guess more than 5 times. Just like when you type in your PIN number at the bank, right? How many times do you get at the bank, you know? Nobody's gone that far? I think it's only 3, actually. Okay? Because it's not so much a guess. Excellent point, Mitchell. Here's the code. I'm giving you the code. It is not a guessing game. It is, you know the code. The code is 638. Okay, just the prefix here in Dauphin. The code is 638. Use that code. Be sure to prime the loop and then change the loop variable. Your run should look something like this. What is the passcode? 333. No, that is incorrect. You have 4 guesses left. What is the passcode? 123. No, that is incorrect. You have 3 guesses left. What is the passcode? 638. Gandalf says you may proceed. Okay? You shall pass. Alright, that is your assignment. Go. It's on the sheet. You don't need to look on the screen. It's on the sheet.